Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are joined by Julie Fast, a world-leading mental health expert on the topics of bipolar disorder, depression, and schizoaffective disorder. She is a best-selling author of Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder, Take Charge of Bipolar Disorder, Get It Done When You're Depressed, Bipolar Happens, and the Health Cards Treatment System for Bipolar Disorder. She is a critically acclaimed national speaker, family and partner coach, and sought-after media source on the topic of mental health management, including violent behavior and mental health. She currently helps people understand the relationship between cannabis and bipolar disorder. Go ahead, Julie.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here to talk to you today about the dangers of loving euphoric mania. I hope you were drawn in by the interest in that title because I don't know that I've ever done a presentation like this before where I actually talk about how mania has affected my life and what I have done to manage it. So I'm very excited to have you here today. Welcome. Please know that this is also being recorded, so if you want to take notes, you can, but you'll be able to go back and listen to this many times. So, as I was introduced, my name is Julie Fast, and I write books on bipolar disorder. I also have a psychotic disorder, so I do talk about psychosis as well. I also write for BP Magazine, and I do a lot of speaking, and for a long time I was doing quite a bit of traveling to speak. But don't let this productivity fool you. Like many people with bipolar disorder, my work is stunted by serious restlessness, focus problems, and depression. And of course, this makes my euphoric mania very appealing. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at age 31, but my symptoms started at age 16. I have bipolar 2 and experience very intense hypomanic episodes that are usually euphoric. This webinar is called The Dangers of Loving Euphoric Mania, but I could also call it You Can't Lie to Me About Your Bipolar Mania. Euphoric mania feels so much better than reality. It's an airbrushed version of life that really does feel perfect in the moment. All of the rough edges are gone. It's a photoshopped reality that we want to live in forever. It chemically takes away our fears and our worries. We become creation, a vessel for ideas and movement and change. Visually, I mean, just look at this picture. Does this represent euphoric mania or what? The world unfolds like a glorious kaleidoscope. All is perfection. Life is seen through rose-colored glasses, and everything is love when you're euphoric. Everything is possible. Have you noticed how when euphoric mania shows up, we sort of hit the bullseye every time? We just get things right. Things are easy for us. The human body sort of gets perfect. We spend a lot of time looking in the mirror, playing with our hair, our skin clears up. We love to stare at ourselves, take pictures of ourselves. Our eyes sparkle, and people want to be our friends. I'll tell you the background of this photo right here. Take a look and see what's behind my head. Yes, that's a towel. And I was manic one day and just decided to do an impromptu photo shoot in my bathroom because I loved the way the towel made my hair look different. I took so many pictures that day. I am not joking with my eyes here. That's what my eyes do when I'm in a euphoric manic episode. I am just like a pretty chipper clown. I took hundreds of pictures with this red backdrop, and of course I look at it now and I can see the towel in the background and that my skin is all flush, but at the time, oh, I felt perfect. When we're manic, everything feels effortless. We crave company, we're the life of the party, we live large. Take a look at these pictures. I want you to notice the difference in my eyes when I'm manic. Now, yes, there is no question that we pop our eyes wide when we're, excited, but I have found that the whites of my eyes, the just sort of the roundness of my eyes, and I have a sparkle in my eyes when I'm manic that doesn't really exist when I'm depressed. And one of my theories is that one day we'll be able to recognize signs of mania in the eyes. I already do it with myself. This little girl on the trampoline, that's what euphoric mania feels like, doesn't it? We're just bouncing, having the best time, enjoying ourselves, running around, doing weird things with our hair, taking funny pictures, making peace signs, laughing, doing karaoke. When I had long hair, I was able to make the most elaborate designs with my hair when I was manic. Whereas when I was depressed, I just would put my hair back in a bun and not do anything with it. We crave company and are the life of the party when we're manic because we have very little fear. And so the mind that normally says you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not thin enough, you're not muscular enough, it's gone. So we'll walk up to anybody and be their friend. Now, please know, I'm not saying that this is a terrible thing. In fact, there are many positives we can learn from euphoric mania. We live large when we're manic. It really does feel so much better than being depressed. So why wouldn't we want to stay like this? Why wouldn't we want to live large? Well, if you have bipolar disorder, you know the answer to that question. We want to stay manic forever because this euphoric mania feels so good, so we feed the mania beast. The meditations, we don't meditate when we're manic, do we? The medications that others take to get out of depression actually can make us quite manic. They make us feel a little bit too perfect, but no one needs to know this. So many will stay on medications that are giving them sort of a manic high because at least they're not depressed. It's our little secret. There's nothing wrong with popping a few SSRI antidepressants when we're feeling down. Everybody does it, right? A little bit of cocaine, some more high THC cannabis, energy drinks filled with amino acids that affect our neurotransmitters and make us even more manic, not to mention the caffeine. Parties that go on all night, wanting things to go on forever. ADD meds to get that book finished. Just this time, I'm only going to use them a little bit. I'll finish my book. I'll finish my law degree. I'll finally get something done. We know this isn't healthy, but in our minds, we say we can control it. It's better than being depressed. And so I'm going to get rid of the depression, but I'm going to learn to control this mania beast. So many of us say this. That picture to the right down there, by the way, that looks like a nice little piece of candy is not. That's a dab. And in the cannabis world today, dabs are a highly, let's put it like it really is. That's right there represents an 80 to 90% hit of THC. And THC is a hallucinogenic that also works as a stimulant. So many of us who are really manic love to dab. So if you're dabbing, you're not alone, but let's just know that dabbing a lot of mania. And don't we love the creativity? Take a look at this picture, guys. I'm lucky if I can draw a stick figure when I'm stable. This was like all of my pens laying in a row and me just doodling and having fun and getting psychedelic and weird. This is mania drawing for me. The creativity is it's just so amazing. We crave it. We crave the invincible feeling that tells us that we are creation, that we can drive 100 miles an hour because there's no death. We play music as loudly as we can because it goes into every pore and we enjoy it. We love the exhilaration of locking eyes across the room with a beautiful stranger. We are productive. Take a look at this picture. I had a jewelry business for many years, so I know what it means to be stable and make earrings and what it means to be manic and make earrings. I can whip, yes, I made every pair of those. I can whip out earrings with weird styles and interesting colors and rather perfect craftsmanship when I'm manic. So it makes sense that I would want to stay there. When we're manic, we want more art, more sex, more booze, more attention, more noise, more amusement, more physical sensation. Just look at the colors, and I've put all of these on a necklace. So I actually, you're not going to believe this, I would take this and wear it as a necklace because it had all these earrings on it. I would never do something like that when I'm stable because it's just weird. I know guys who put pigtails in their hair, who wear makeup when they're manic that they would never do when they're stable. People who sleep with members of a sexual group that they never would sleep with when they are stable. We want more pleasure, more fun, more color. And euphoric mania is expansive. So we want the world to join our party. Have you noticed when you're in euphoric mania, that's when you meet most of your boyfriends and girlfriends? That's when you get a job really easily. That's when you finish a book. Who doesn't want to be a fun and better photographer? Do the work of 10 people in one weekend. I look at the photos that I make when I'm manic and they amaze me. The intricacies of this photo, for example, I have to go find all of my mom's cat figurines. I have to pick flowers. I have to stage it. I take the pictures. These guys start having characters. I then think that I'm going to write a book about them, or maybe I'll do an animation. One thing that's important to remember about euphoric mania is that our ideas are often really good. So I'm not telling you that you cannot do something good when you have euphoric mania in your life. I'm not naive. I'm not naive at all. We can outline an entire, this makes me laugh. You guys, look at this. Who draws? Like, I don't have any art. I don't have an art bone in my body. Who doesn't want to design? This is the design for a web page that never got made, where I just sat down and decided I'm going to redo my whole web page and the whole thing's going to be hand drawn. Who wouldn't want this when our brain is so foggy when we're depressed that we can't work hardly at all? Who wouldn't want this? Think back of the times that you've had euphoric mania. And if you're a loved one or a healthcare professional, think about your clients who have euphoric mania. What changes in them? Do they have an increase in drawing ability? I once, by the way, learned to speak a language, I will come up to this in a second, in 4 weeks. Do they have photographic memories? Do they speak more eloquently? Is life easier? Do they say things like, I've never felt this good. This is the best thing that ever happened to me. Why would you take this from me? This is the real me. The language of mania sounds like happiness. I teach everybody who wants to manage bipolar disorder successfully to write down what they think, say, and do when they're in specific mood swings. Well, this picture right here is an example of what I do when I'm manic. This might seem like a good thing, but the problem with so much of my mania, unlike the earrings, which I eventually give away or sell, this kind of mania represented in this picture is mania with no end point. It's all design. It's all art. The web pages don't get made. I don't get things done. So determining what you get done and what you do when you're manic is very important. We do a lot when we're manic, but how much do we really get done? I start a lot of things that never get finished. All of my books start with sort of manic ideas, but I write most of them when I'm depressed because mania is too involved with partying for me. Take a look at these pictures. I know that I had my first euphoric manic episode. By the way, when I say mania, for myself, because I have bipolar 2, I have hypomania, but I have the kind of hypomania that's moving pretty close to full-blown mania. So mine is pretty strong. That's me in Europe holding a guy with chainmail at age 17 in my first hypomanic episode. Now, what you wouldn't know from looking at that picture is that, well, she just looks like a young girl. But everything changed for me. I started looking at guys. I drank my first wine. I was picking up Italian really easily. I didn't need to sleep. My teacher called me a foghorn because I wouldn't stop talking. I made friends really easily. And I remember thinking, this is the new me. The girl in high school who was worried about her weight and her hair and her face and guys and work, oh, she was just gone. This is the new me. But then I went back to Hawaii for my junior year and I was still myself. I didn't know what happened. Where was that girl? Who was that person in Europe? It took me many years to know who that person was. Now here I am, over 10 years later in Japan. Oh my gosh, did I have mood swings in Japan. Remember, I wasn't diagnosed until I was 31. So I had a lot of pretty darn wild years going on when my mania was completely out of control. Do you notice my eyes and my mouth in this picture and how similar it is to the other pictures? The wide eye, the clear skin, the crazy hair. That's always a sign for me that I'm manic. I get really interested in clothes and skin and makeup and hair and jewelry. So if you think about yourself or your loved one or a client, what physical changes do they make during euphoric mania? What do their eyes look like? What do their shoulders look like? How do they dress? What do they say? Are they really clean? We tend to get really clean when we're manic. Now, in this next picture, I'm a grown up, but I'm still manic. I remember doing my hair like this, and I remember thinking, oh, I'm just having a good time. I'm in my 50s. I'm just enjoying myself, having a good time, I'm in a good space. Do you know I didn't even catch that I was manic until I looked at the pictures and went, Julie, hair, wide eyes, taking a lot of pictures of myself, being weird. So even I have a very hard time sometimes figuring out if I'm manic or if I'm just happy. How do we reconcile the fact that we have an illness that makes us too happy if we have euphoric mania? How do we come to terms with feeling something that nobody else in the world feels unless they do a drug? Remember, mania is the only symptom that bipolar disorder has by itself. There are no other illnesses that have mania. Some drugs, like cocaine, for example, can induce something like mania, but we really are the only people in the world who have it chemically. Mania is seductive. Mania feels like every cell in our body has been what I call infused with joy juice. If you have chronic pain, your pain feels better. If you have trouble talking to people, that goes away. I know how much you love your mania. I love it too. I know your manic secret. I know that euphoric mania is better than sex. It's better than love because we're not very loving when we're in a euphoric manic episode. We are selfish. We are smarter than everyone in the room because we're connecting things so quickly, and our frontal lobes have turned off. So all of the language of, hey, you shouldn't do that, or maybe you shouldn't talk that way, or wow, that skirt's mighty short, or you're wearing a lot of makeup, or maybe you shouldn't buy that sports car. That's all gone. We leave our children for this kind of mania. We forget about them. I know this because I've done it all. And if I'm manic and I'm looking at this guy's body right now, whoo, the things that I think when I'm manic compared to how I think when I'm stable, there are no words for it. I'm under the influence of mania. Mania turns off my frontal lobes and turns on my libido and my creativity. I am all amygdala. I am all creation. I am an animal. If you have bipolar disorder and experience euphoric mania, it is natural for you to want to get rid of the depression, but oh, please, 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 don't take away the only thing in life that feels good to me. Don't take my euphoric mania. We say this to our healthcare team who won't let us take antidepressants or ADD meds. We say this to people who tell us we can't use cannabis because of the THC. We say this to people who say you cannot have drugs, you can't stay up late, you can't pound energy drinks, you can't play video games at night. No, please. We live in a world of depression. Don't take our mania. Well, I lived this way for many, many years. It is normal to hate depression. Who doesn't? But is it okay to love our euphoric mania? Because that's what so many of us tell ourselves. We live in a society where we like happy people, right? We want people to be fun until they're not fun. We tell ourselves that it's okay to chase this mania, to just let a little bit of it arrive because it's so much better than the depression. Well, I'm here to tell you that I call this the bipolar lie. The idea that it's okay to be euphoric simply because it feels so good, and it's a lot better than being depressed, is a dangerous lie. I'm here to challenge you into stability. I know that sounds weird. I'm not saying you have to give up mania and be depressed. I am not saying that. I'm saying let's manage our mania and find stability. So let's not have depression or mania. I'm here to challenge you to say, is euphoric mania actually something good? You know, you can lie to everybody about your mania because mania lies to us, doesn't it? It's okay, Julie. Don't tell anybody you're manic. Just write it out, have some fun, go to a bar, do some good things, fun things, just do it. You can feed the beast as I did. You can lie to yourself and your partner and your team and anyone around you who is concerned. But I'm here to tell you that you can't lie to me because I finally lied the last time. I've stopped lying to myself that euphoric mania is anything other than the other side of the bipolar coin. Mania and depression are equal symptoms. And just because one feels better than the other, it doesn't mean it's safe. This is the paradox of bipolar disorder. We truly have an illness where feeling good is a dangerous symptom. I'm thinking about what you're thinking about right now because I know for many of you, this might even be the first time where someone has said, no, you don't get to keep your euphoric mania. I loved my euphoric mania until I realized it was actually illness and not the perfect world it seemed to be. I lied to myself about this mania. Depression is the problem, right? This mania, this euphoric mania must be the real me. And then one day, almost 10 years ago, after a run-in with the police that involved a lot of booze and two very, very scary men in a basement where we were drinking beer and watching basketball, I realized that in order to truly get better, I had to stop lying to myself about my euphoric mania. I want to help you do the same. It's okay if you're mad at me right now. It's okay if you want to say that I'm full of crap and that mania is all you have in life. It's okay. I have been there. But I know my reality and I know yours because we have the same illness. So please stick with me as I make my case. You are watching this webinar for a reason. If you're viewing this to get help and to free yourself from the clutches of the mania lie, you already know that the reality of euphoric mania is a Wizard of Oz experience. Life behind the manic curtain looks like a freaking crime scene. Underneath this perfection, there is chaos. Look at that picture on the upper left. I was shopping one day and just hadn't quite picked up, this was quite a few years ago, that I was manic. And I got the idea that I was going to buy sale items for homeless shelters. And I was going to pile my cart full of things to help other people. It didn't matter that I didn't have a lot of money because everything was on sale, right? And I pushed that cart up to the sales counter and something happened. I went, oh, I'm manic. And I broke through that manic haze and I put every single item on that cart back. I didn't run out of the store and leave the cart. I said, Julie, you're putting it all back, and I put it back. Mania gives us a love affair with money. We just love to spend it. Down at the bottom, you see one of my main manic problems, and that's pins. I have enough Sharpies to start a store. I love money. I like buying things. I like to buy things for others. If I'm manic and driving and I see a homeless shelter or a soup kitchen, I'll stop by and hand them money. When you don't have a lot of money, you're going to spend all of it when you're manic. When you have a lot of money, you're going to spend all of it when you're manic. How about this? The gambling, the drinking, and the gambling that happens because gambling, like unprotected sex, like shopping, is something most people can talk themselves out of. But because our euphoric mania just wants more, 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 the idea of gambling becomes really fun because look at all the money you can win. And the fact is I'm a really, really good blackjack player. Yes, that's 450 euros that I won playing blackjack, having started with $50. When I'm manic, woo, can I play blackjack? But these days, I don't really allow it because, first of all, it's not good because it's usually at night. And also, you don't always win. You think you do, but you don't. I love this slide because I can't really tell if it's created by people or if it's actually a video game. But let's talk for a moment about euphoric hypersexuality. It's dangerous. It's fun. We're the life of the party. We'll take our clothes off in the middle of the street. We'll do whatever we want. But if we're in a relationship and have children, it's a little bit hard on the people. Our euphoric mania behind the curtain has a lack of sleep, an inattention to what really matters, unprotected sex, the ease of actually saying yes to an orgy, the egotism, the loudness, the inevitable pregnancies and STDs, the predatory stalking nature of our drive for more and more and more pleasure. And most of all, our empathy is turned off. And we can't see that in the midst of feeling better than we have ever felt in our lives, we are actually killing everything that is beautiful and possible in life. But we can't see this. In 1995, I left my husband out of the blue and decided to move and go learn Chinese in China. Now, a lot of people go to China now, but let me tell you, in 1995, not many people were getting on a plane and going to China. I made the decision in a split second and then just put it into action. I was manic. I thought of no one but myself. Did I have a great time when I was in China? Yes. But my mom, that's her with the red hair and the glasses standing next to me, was worried about me because who just picks up and goes to China and leaves her partner? So she found me in China. She got on a plane and found me. And I seemed fine, didn't I? I was having a great time. But a few interesting things were happening. I had learned to speak Mandarin in 4 weeks. I had photographic, it was an oral, so it was a listening photographic memory. I didn't learn to read Chinese in 4 weeks, but I learned to speak it. I bought our plane tickets, our train tickets. I talked to cabbies, restaurants. I spoke Chinese. And I'm not really great with languages. Remember, this is before I was diagnosed with bipolar, so she's not sure what's going on. But eventually it was obvious something wasn't right, and we ended up in Hong Kong, and I became psychotic along with my mania. We realized something was wrong. She took me to a doctor, and I was finally diagnosed incorrectly with depression, put on an antidepressant. Whoa, these were the 90s, which sent me right back up into mania. I went back to my partner, my husband in Seattle. We got back together. I was still just so out of my mind, though. I finally saw a psychiatrist, and then at age 31, I was finally diagnosed with bipolar disorder 2 with psychotic features, ultra rapid cycling, which we now call schizoaffective disorder because I have bipolar and a psychotic disorder. And I was put on 23 medications, off and on for 3 years, and I still had trouble controlling my mania. I take a look at this picture now because it represents, and I'm sure you guys have just as many pictures, it represents the fact that this euphoric mania can look normal. We travel, we get new jobs, we go a little bit crazy, but it can look normal. I want to challenge you, and I'm all about challenges, to ask what it was like for my partner when I left him, what it was like for my mom to not know where I was, what it was like for the jobs I didn't go to, for the things I quit. My challenge is for us to see euphoric mania as the dumpster fire that it is, as the big old fire that it is. I challenge myself and I challenge you to stop the lying, the stealing. Yes, I steal when I'm manic. The the cheating, the sweaty nights with strangers, the blackout drinking, the harming of people who care about us, the lack of nutritious food, the gambling binges, the drug taking, the fast driving, the leaving people that we love, the video game marathons, cocaine, dabbing, the partying. And I ask you to come back to your stable self. I ask that you examine euphoric mania as an explosion that you can't control. I ask you to see euphoric mania as always leading into another mood swing that will either be anxiety or depression. I ask that you see euphoric mania. I know, you guys, even saying this out loud is hard for me because I love my mania so much. To see euphoric mania as destructive and dangerous, a symptom of bipolar disorder that needs to be managed with a management system, and for many of us, including myself, medications, in the same way that we manage depression. Euphoric mania is our drug. We are addicts if we stoke our mania fire. Euphoric mania and depression are the same thing. They are mood swings. That's why we have an illness called bipolar disorder. One just feels better than the other. I had to break my fairy tale feelings around euphoric mania. I stopped chasing it 10 years ago. I let mania now be as ugly as it really is, because remember, something that feels good can still be ugly. I went behind the curtain and I said, no more. I started to use my medications, but not only for depression, but to stop euphoric mania as well. Yes, I take meds when I'm manic. I taught myself how to sleep like a regular person on a euphoric, on a circadian rhythm plan. This was incredibly difficult. I hate that I have to do this, but I love my stability more. I learned my triggers, especially internet dating and travel, and I modified my behaviors. I still get manic a lot. I have bipolar disorder. When I decided I would no longer cultivate and live in a euphoric manic world, it didn't mean my euphoric mania went away, but it meant that it never went 3 months. It doesn't go 2 weeks anymore. It starts for a couple hours, and with a few days, I've got it. It's gone. I know what my mania looks like. I know what I think, say, and do, and I stopped it. And I learned to treat bipolar disorder first. I saw the dangerous side of euphoric mania that night in that basement with those 2 men when the police were called. And I made the choice to live in a stable world. I want to encourage you to do the same. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this webinar. Here are a few references you can use to learn more about mania. All of my books talk about mania, every single one of them, because learning to manage depression and learning to manage mania go hand in hand. So if you want to get started with the most basic plan, that's Take Charge of Bipolar Disorder. And then my health cards are my big plan. That's for what I call advanced management treatment. I highly recommend a subscription to BP Magazine, because that's where a lot of the writers who are dealing with their mania write, and also it's beautiful, and I love to support this magazine. You can find more about them at bphope.com. I highly support the work of Dr. Jay Carter, who has 2 videos on YouTube called Bipolar Light that explain what happens in our brain when we get manic, and he is the author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Bipolar Disorder. Mary Ellen Copeland, who started the RAP program, is your friend. Go look up Mary Ellen and find out more about her work. I also highly recommend the work of Dr. James Phelps, or Jim Phelps, who does a lot of work about the bipolars that are a little hard to diagnose, the ones that have a little bit of mania and a lot of depression, or you're not quite sure what your diagnosis is. He's a great help for this. And I really like Gabe Howard's podcast for the Psych Central show. So if you're looking for a great podcast to listen to, that's what I recommend. All right, everybody. We just took a bit of a roller coaster ride through mania, didn't we? And I'm ready to answer some of your questions. So I'll now take your questions and I will turn it back over to Jeff. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you, Julie. Let's give it a few seconds just to see if people can submit some questions. We have some that were submitted during the course of the lecture, so let's get going there. Let me pull them up. All right. So the first question is, how do I recognize euphoric mania?
So bipolar disorder is an illness that has two mood swings, depression and mania. The thing to remember about mania is that it's always going to involve energy. There are two levels of mania, hypomania and full-blown mania, but there are two types of mania, euphoric mania and dysphoric mania. So dysphoric mania is a negative, it's called mixed, and it means that you have thoughts of negativity and aggression and unhappiness with really high energy. So it's a mixture of depression and high energy. That's dysphoric. Well, euphoric mania means you don't sleep and you're not tired. Ideas are flowing really quickly. You're very, very, very creative. So this is our most creative of all mood swings. You will find things in life to be very easy. For example, languages, drawing, computer programming, fixing a car, all of that becomes a lot easier. You will have speeded up talking. So here's an example. Mom, I can't believe it. I am so excited. I'm going to apply for a new job and I just cannot wait to do this. And I really want to do this job. And so I've got 17 applications out there and I cannot wait to hear back. That's called rapid speech. Your inhibitions are gone. So euphoric mania means that you sleep with anyone, buy anything, do anything, take a lot of drugs, drink when it's really full blown, because your frontal lobes are turned off and anything that says, hey, that's not a good idea, is turned off. It also feels wonderful. So one of the main signs of euphoric mania is you don't feel pain. You don't have any anxiety. That's one thing to remember about euphoric mania. There's no anxiety, so you're not worried about anything. And I basically say we're in our animal state. We want attention, sex, to spend money, to gamble, to feel good, and to be around a lot of people. So the definition of euphoric mania is that it's expansive and inclusive. That means you want to be with people. You do not sleep as much as you need to sleep normally, but you are never tired. And your frontal lobe is turned off, so you make a lot of really dangerous decisions. Now, when you're in the hypomanic phase, it's hard to miss because what it looks like is happiness. That's why it's so important that therapists learn about hypomania, because often a client will be depressed for months and come in and go, oh my God, I'm finally better, I feel great. And it actually is hypomania. For those of us with rapid cycling, we go in and out of depression and mania. So almost always, if you have rapid cycling, euphoric mania will be followed by depression. The best way to describe euphoric mania is that everything is perfect. Or as Terry Cheney says in her book, Manic, everything is interesting.
All right, great. Next question. What does stability look like?
I had to teach, thank you for whomever asked that question, because I had to teach myself what stability feels like. My bipolar disorder started at 16 with my first hypomanic episode at 17. I'm now in my 50s. Nobody taught me what stability looked like because I'd never had it. I spent all of my life going in and out of mood swings, but here's what stability looks like. It is extremely consistent. And you will find that people with bipolar disorder are not consistent. So as we move forward, if we're looking for stability, I want to tell you that consistency feels better than mania. I know you're not going to believe me this right now. Consistency means that when someone needs you, you're there. Consistency means that you can work more. It means that you practice a circadian rhythm sleep kind of process where you go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. It does not mean that you're boring. I still party as much as I want, but guess what? There are no drugs and alcohol involved. And I go to karaoke early. I am in bed by 10. I'm consistent. So it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy myself, that I don't have fun, that I'm not with my friends, but I know what stability looks like. It means that your relationships are stable. So you're not going in and out of relationships because someone pissed you off or someone was mean or this person doesn't like me. It means that you can maintain work. I can only work part-time. My bipolar is very severe, but at least I can do that. So I'm learning that stability is part-time work for me. Also, stability means that you think before you act and that you're going to live longer. There are many, many, many studies that say if we keep on our wild ride of depression mania, we are going to cut our life short. Stability means that our heart, our liver, our kidneys, our breathing, our life, and our health are a lot better. Our immune system is stronger, and it's not boring. So that's the most important thing.
Great. Okay. So here's another one. Julie, how do you deal with mistakes that happen during mania? I have no idea how to explain what I've done to my family.
First of all, the day that you make the decision that mania is no longer going to control you is the day that you have said sorry to everybody. So that's what you say first. You say, hey, I'm doing a real inventory of my life here. And I realize that me leaving you 3 times and going off with other guys or women and all my drug taking and all of this, that's mania. So I want you to know that you're not responsible for me, but I'm going to my healthcare team. I'm going to get meds if needed. I'm going to use Julie's books, and I need your help. I don't want mania to control my life anymore. I promise you that's the apology that people need. That's number one. Number two, as you learn more of what mania looks like, you will be able to explain why you did what you did. So what I recommend is on bphope.com, and then I'm doing more work with the International Bipolar Foundation. I promise you, I write a lot about my manic mistakes, about getting an STD, about leaving partners, leaving a husband, about once driving too fast with my nephew in the back of my car because I forgot he was there. And I talk about how I apologize. So go look at the BP Magazine blog for those blogs. The best apology is stopping the mania. People will come back. They will forgive you. If you left a relationship because you were manic, you might not get that back, but at least you can say to someone, this is why. I got the unbelievable experience of seeing my first husband, whom I met when I was manic and then left because I was sick. Almost 10 years later, we got to meet, and I got to say to him, I'm so sorry. It was bipolar. He had no idea. He thought I just picked up and left him. So it's never too late. It is never too late to apologize. I'm also looking at this picture right here, Jeff, and I see that Christina Huff is on my computer as I'm smiling out through this picture. I love the work of Christina Huff, who is the bipolar hot mess. She is very, very honest about what she does with her bipolar disorder. So there's another great resource on how to deal with getting manic and how to apologize.
Well, that leads perfectly into our next question. So it is. I'm in full mania right now. I'm battling between treating it fully and riding the high until it goes away. What is your best way to end mania?
First of all, thanks for your honesty, and the fact that you're in full mania and made it through this webinar is mind-blowing. So congratulations. And I can't wait for you to watch this webinar when you're not manic, because I can tell you right now, this just looked like a big, beautiful picture, because you're asking me a question that this webinar actually answers. So that means the mania is winning, which is okay. There was a picture of me holding a rock, a big purple rock. Let's see if I can get back to it. Honey, that's lithium. And I'm going to tell you, the only way out of full-blown mania is for us to put ourselves in a dark room, take our sleep meds, take our meds, see our doctors, and say no to it. I know you want to ride it. I know there's nothing that feels better. But you know what? That's what people say about cocaine. It took me many years. I'd say this process was 2 or 3 years of me finally saying, up there it is, but I'm not giving into it. So, first of all, bravo. Secondly, in your manic haze, I want you to think about what actually happens when you come down from this mania if you let it go a couple weeks, or like mine used to be a couple months. You're going to have a lot of drugs and alcohol, a lot of sex, a lot of spending, and a lot of upset people in your life. I choose stability. If in this exact moment you pick up the phone and call your doctor, you go, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to tell you the truth. I don't want to take meds. Just know that I'm fighting this, but I need my drugs. I need my meds. You can do things to stop the mania while being in it and still loving it. And that's your real self coming forward. A couple nights ago, I was manic because I get manic. I have ultra rapid cycling bipolar. And I kept having the thought, Julie, just go gamble. Go gamble. Come on, take $100, turn it into 500. Just go gamble. Where? And I'm like, I don't do this anymore. But my car had its own mind. My body had its own mind. My pocketbook had its own mind. But I have a rule. I don't give in to mania. So call your doctor. Watch this webinar again if you need to. And remember what's behind the curtain. Because we crash hard when full-blown mania is done. And we usually go into a suicidal depression. Stopping your mania now can prevent that. Good luck.
All right, the next one. What if hypomania is focused into my genuine intent? I don't want to let it become derailed. And in a few days, I can usually bring it down. But the question, what if hypomania is focused into my genuine intent?
I get this question a lot, and I can tell you that I haven't been able to do it, and I'm a darn good bipolar disorder manager. So if hypomania is focused into your intent, and what that means is my hypomania is controlled enough that it doesn't cause destruction. But guess what? I have another way of looking at this. Because I understand where you're coming from. I try to do it, and I can't. If you understand that hypomania actually is illness, that it's the other side of the bipolar coin, then it's not okay to let a hypomania ride. That would be the equivalent of saying, I've got diabetes. Actually, a lot of people do this. I'm just going to ride the sugar for a while and just take more insulin. So I want you to hear that. I've got diabetes. I've got an insulin pump. And I know what stability is, but I'm sorry, I'm at a birthday party and I'm just going to eat as much cake and ice cream as I want, and I'm just going to pump some more insulin in. Now, once or twice, you can handle that, but eventually your pancreas, your body, your liver, your kidneys is going to go, wait a minute, this is not the regular amount of insulin, it's not working. Riding our manias is the same thing. To me, and this might make you mad when I say this, it's no different than saying I can handle a little bit of cocaine. I'm just going to have a little. I'm not an addict. It's okay. And you're not an addict. You probably are not an addict if you can handle a little bit of cocaine. But I want to live a clean life. I want to know what I'm going to be like when I'm 80. And I know that riding my mania, which I did for almost 25 years, the depression always showed up. So if you have a life where all of your relationships are okay, you can work full time with no problem, your money is stable, you you have no problem, and you have a couple days of mania, that's fine. But I know the reality behind this. Probably those couple days of mania disrupt a lot. You're probably messing with your meds a little bit, and there might be some people who are upset. But ultimately, this is your choice. If that's what works for you, then that's what works for you. But if you're sort of not being honest with yourself and there's still depression and there's still anxiety and there's a little paranoia and people don't really like it when you're manic, except for the strangers you meet, then it means you're actually playing with an illness, which is a little different than playing with feeling good. So that's my advice. I'm a meanie.
All right, we have time for, let's do two more questions. So let me go through. Um, okay, let's see. Is it possible that mania could last for more than a few months?
Oh, heck yes. Mania, just like depression, can last as long as it's being fueled. So the longest mania I've had, and as I said, I have bipolar 2 with hypomania, but I have full on hypomania. The only reason I don't have bipolar 1 hypomania is that I don't get psychotic with my mania. And most people with bipolar 1 full blown mania will have psychosis with their mania. So mania will last as long as we fuel it. But it also depends on the type of bipolar disorder you have, the environment you're in, and what kind of mania you've had in the past. My longest mania I ever had was 4 months, but I fueled it. So I didn't know what it was. I was in my early 20s. I met a guy and we fell in love in one day. I ended up marrying him after knowing him a couple of weeks. Uh, in another one of my long manias, I met my second husband and moved in with him after a week. And that mania probably lasted 3 or 4 months. So if we fuel our mania by not knowing what it is or by letting it happen, we will sleep a lot less. And right there, the number one treatment for mania is sleep, without question. So even if you don't take meds, take sleep meds. So meds are going to sleep meds, and sleep and getting yourself to sleep is the most important thing that you can do. If you are using drugs such as THC, which tends to be very high, about 18% in today's cannabis, it will fuel mania. So I know people who've been manic off and on for years because they like THC cannabis. If you're using meth, cocaine, amphetamines, ADD meds, or antidepressants without a mood stabilizer, you can stay manic for years. But here's what to remember. Bipolar disorder is episodic, so you're probably not going to stay straight manic. You'll probably go in and out of the mania because it's episodic. But can mania happen a long time? Heck yes. And there also is a form of bipolar disorder that is mania only. It's rare, but it happens. So those are the guys where you hear about they're the never sleep day traders or night traders, whatever, on Wall Street, those kind of people, men and women who are manic all of the time. One of the best explanations of mania is Andy Berman's book, Electro Boy. And that lets you see what fueled mania looks like. He had years and years of mania. So yes, it can go on a long time. If you are in a full-blown episode and you go to the hospital, it can take months for it to come down, or the meds can work immediately and you can get better in a couple days. So it is personal, depends on your brain chemistry, depends on your past, and depends on if the mania is being fueled by ADD meds, steroids, hormones, THC, meth, coke, that kind of thing.
All right, we have just a minute left, so I'm going to send it back to you, Julie, to conclude.
Sounds wonderful. Well, thanks to everyone for joining me here today. And I cannot stress enough how important and how wonderful it has been to work with the International Bipolar Foundation. And here's why. As a person with bipolar disorder, I have a lot of work issues. The International Bipolar Disorder Foundation allowed me to do my first ever webinar. Think about that. I've been in this business for 20 years. This is my first live webinar with an organization, not because I didn't want to do one, but because I couldn't do it on my own. It's because of this organization that I was finally able to get ideas across, because they helped me with administration. Jeff has been absolutely wonderful with helping me, and Debbie and Aubrey and all the people who marketed this. When we have bipolar disorder and want to work, we need a team. I ask that if you enjoyed this webinar today and you have the ability to do so, please make a donation to the International Bipolar Foundation, because they're doing great work. The World Bipolar Day is coming up, and I think this year, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, March 30th. You can participate in this. There's always need for volunteers, bloggers, people to come in and support the word. I love to work with organizations such as NAMI, DBSA, the International Bipolar Foundation, BP Magazine. Those are the places that are helping those of us with bipolar disorder who cannot do it all on our own. So thank you for joining me on this webinar today. I would love to read your comments as to what this brought up, because just me even going through my journey of how much I used to let that mania control me has been very emotional. So please support the International Bipolar Foundation. I will be doing more webinars, and I can't wait to meet you in person one day, and let's talk together online. Thank you. And thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Julie. Please submit any questions you have on one of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, or comment on YouTube when the video is posted. Everybody have a great day.